do our live now.
Hello, everybody. I know we might not have very many people, and it's okay, but we are going to have a good time, right? Now, I'm going to introduce myself in Navajo. She Navajo Grandma Yenishia. Kenya Ani Nishna. Tachitni Bashes Chin. Shanala A. Na Kaidene Danale. Shiche A. Ashti Danale. Akwit A. Dene Asanishle. That means basically I'm just saying what my mother's clan is, my father's, who I'm born for, and my paternal and maternal grandfather, what their clans are. And I'm going to sing Sheena Shah, Sheena Shah, Sheena Shah, Ya De Hojone Iahe, Ne Ya Hojon Go, Ena Shah, Hojon Go, Ena Shah. Now remember, that's my mother's favorite song, and I love that. It means, please help me to walk in beauty, okay? And you know what that is? Walk in peace, beauty, balance, and harmony. So we'll put that down. Now I'm going to start answering the questions, and I wrote them on a card. So Grandma, when you get older, you don't remember quite so much a lot. But anyways, so I'm going to read you the, Joseph Schmidt is the first one, okay? And this is his question. And you can go sit up. Okay. He said, Grandma, I have a question for you for your live feed on the 22nd. Since it's almost Christmas, I wanted to ask you how you met Grandpa, what he liked about you, what you liked about him. Now, I'm just going to say, our marriage is a totally different animal. It was like almost coming to the Hogan and meeting. But my children, my oldest daughter, Ku'ule, and the kids decided that Mom was single for 17 years and that they put me on a singles.com, and I dated 254 men. And Grandpa was, 253 men, and Grandpa was 254. Now, they were all out of state, and so Grandpa says, that's how I met Grandfather, okay? Not because I wanted to. Now, my children made my profile for me, so I don't know what it said, but Grandpa said that's what he liked about me, my profile. Laugh out loud. Okay, what I liked about him, now everybody always said, now excuse my French, but the way I'm going to say this, they always say, Frankie, you want to marry Jesus. Well, Grandpa's not Jesus, but I wanted to marry a Christian, and that's what I liked about Grandpa, okay? And what we did, it says, what did you do your first Christmas? Well, we moved into an apartment. We set up the decorations. We talked about family and traditions. And we made Navajo and Aussie food together. And we walked in the snow. And there was a lot of snow. And I made a snowman. And I was always the one singing. Grandpa was off key. So we went and I did carols. I love to sing carols to neighbors. That was it. Joseph, thank you so much, sweetheart. And the next one's going to be a doozer. Bert, okay, this is Bert Stein K.E. Felt. I don't know how to say that. He said, if your tribe and perhaps other tribes have retained oral traditions and or records about the Creator, the flood, Christ, and other scriptural events and concepts, and keep them sacred, shared with few outsiders, then do you know what the origin of Native American myths that seem to merely echo these teachings? Now you're going to hear me. I'm going to read this. This is really important. And remember, you're listening to a Native American, a Navajo woman, a Navajo grandma. Don't compare me to a professor or a preacher. Just remember, I'm Navajo Grandma, and I'm answering this from myself and my knowledge and how I grew up. What I speak following, I heard my Nali, Shinalahastin, his oral teachings, as did the 11 men that he met with in the Hogan. They actually blessed and anointed one another. And for the fact they wanted to remain valiant, steadfast, with courage, to allow who? The Diyanishke, the Comforter, to help them to teach and bring to their memory the ancestral teachings that they knew and wanted to progress, that they taught. So that was what they did. Now, in the beginning, our ancestors, now my ancestors, this is not covering all the Navajo Nation. Remember, this is my life. In the beginning, my grandfather expressed to me, our ancestors walked and saw and heard and knew the disciples of Jesus Christ. They lived. They believed the teachings. Time passed. The king of Assyria overtakes and destroys many. The Romans take over Jerusalem. Our forefathers were told through prophecy to leave as the wickedness was increasing. They built a great ship, came and as directed by the ship was directed by the nostril winds and the breath of God to a sacred land, arriving from where? The east. Not the Bering Strait, the east. So then, if you think about this and about myths, time passes. Now, my grandfather told me, teaching starts to fade. Some make their own way. They create it. New ways of worship is what they create. They reinterpret their own liking. What was true, that they just forget it. But they create worships or whatever that appeases them. The myths are created by man, not by the Spirit of God. At times with ulterior motives, like I just said, to appease themselves. Man is carnal, and Satan throws himself with wickedness into the mess and leads man away from the pure truths they once walked in, lived and breathed, the miracles they saw and once felt when they felt the Spirit of God. Now, the example I'm going to give you, Burke, is there are some pueblos that worship the sun, okay, that bright sun in the sky. They give offerings to the sun. Modern pueblos have found the name, okay, they know there's something going on, and they said, no, it wasn't the sun in the sky, it was the Son of God. And they became confused, they say, about their people. In the teachings thereby, they worshipped and changed from the Son of God to the sun, which does give light and sustenance to the earth, but became confused as a god to worship.
Okay,
Now,
I'm gonna put on a tripod really quick.
can you, okay.
Yeah, so it will be better.
Can they see what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're making changes, guys. Hang on. Now can you see? Okay. So I'm going to read this out of this. Does this look familiar to anybody? This is the Bible. And I know people will say, oh my gosh, that's colonialism. It is not colonialism. We, like my grandfather, my Nali, Shinala, said, why do they talk about these things in such a way? These are things that we had years and years. Ashkedah, that means many years ago, generations. Ashkedah, Nihicho, They are the ones that taught us these things. They were carried down from generation to generation, such as I'm going to take some excerpts from the Bible. Now, when you talk about an exodus due to wickedness, as my ancestors left Jerusalem, due to the wickedness of the leaders, including the governor and the priest, this is also backed up by the Bible. Malachi is 400 BC and is the last book of the Old Testament. Rome put in Herod as the king, as Rome's puppet. So through the true king of Israel followed the normal pattern and got the heck out of Jerusalem to protect him and his family's lives. And they led a rebellion from the desert. You can read this in 1st and 2nd Maccabees in the Apocrypha, okay? Another group who did this were the Essenes, who lived in Qumran, I can't say that, Qumran, on the Dead Sea. Another place where they did this was Masada. Now, Burke, I love you, and I hope I answered this, and I appreciate these questions. They make you think, and it's really important for us to do so. The next question came from Cindy Stately. Cindy, I hope you're there, 9260. And she said, living in northern Colorado and driving my semi into Albuquerque many times a week, I always wondered if there was something that I was doing that was considered disrespectful to Navajo people. That would be the last thing that I would ever want to do. And I want to be sure if it was spitting on the ground, not that I did that, but I've seen people do it. I just feel it was very disrespectful, and that brought me to wonder what else would be disrespectful in the Navajo Nation's eyes. And these are the few, and there could be a lot, but I said, one of the things that we don't like is that people take pictures. Now, the old way is you can take pictures, but some people just, I got yelled at from Navajo people who say, do you know that you're taking my spirit? You're taking part of my spirit. And they yelled at me in Navajo. And so that, just kind of be careful with your camera. It's lovely, but when you ask permission if you can. Then the another one is be respectful at sacred sites and ceremonies. Now I'm going to make an example of the Yay-Biche. That happens in Shiprock. And when the Yay-Biche come out and they come and walk out, there is a long walkway. Now, even the Navajos are guilty of this. You are supposed to respect that long walkway, for they will go from one end and then they will come around and turn around and walk again. You're not supposed to walk back and forth for your hamburger and whatever else. You're supposed to go all the way around so that you don't break the spirit of what this sacred ceremony. Because see, that's a blessing. They're giving you a blessing. That's why people come from all over the Navajo Nation, even back from other states, so that they can receive the blessings. And so the sacred part of that is, don't walk on where the sacred parts of, get to know the ceremonies, and walk around and don't cut across. Your teachers always told you that. Be nice. So that's one example. And the other one I could say is listen to your elders. That's all I'm going to say about that. Cindy, sweetheart, thank you so much. Now, the next one came from J.O. She's from Albany, New York. She said, how do we keep bad spirits away from us that try to block us like witchcraft? And so I always say, and Grandma, you always know that I say there's only two powers on this earth. There's Satan or Lucifer and God, okay? And what I also say is that you learn to have faith and believe in goodness and in God. Through prayer, you can fast and cleanse yourself or whatever if there's bad things around. And prayer is really important because this is what I say when I talk about smudging. When you go out among people, you don't know what kind of spirits you are picking up. So you know what? Why do you? It sounds kind of funny. I always come back and I go pa. I smudge and I take that energy, the bad energy, and release it from the crown of my head or at my hands, and that's a protection. It really is because you're bringing in something that's positive, getting rid of that which is could be evil spirits. You can also do things like serve and serve people. Satan hates that. Also, you can ask and command Satan to depart. He has bounds. You can say, "Get thee hence, Lucifer," and tell him to get out of there. You can say, "In the name of Jesus Christ." Now, it's up to you. I'm just teaching you what I know, and I know it works. It is true. God's power is powerful. And then, if you want, Grandpa always tells people, keep a light on in your room if you're feeling uncomfortable. Even after you pray, keep a light on. Evil spirits do not like light. Also, sing a hymn. Sing happy songs. And children's music is lovely. And I've had moments like this, and that's what we do. We turn on the light, and we feel better, and we go to sleep. But the best thing is, do not entertain Satan. Once he gets his little toes in your life, he'll start crawling in. And, we always tell, my grandfather always says, to stand in holy places. Do not, you're inviting things that are not good. If you're hanging out at bars, you're hanging out late in the night, just be careful. That's my advice. That's what I would tell you. And you're my grandchildren. That's what Grandma is going to tell you.
Eagle Eye says burn some sage.
Oh, yes. Eagle Eye said burn some sage. Yes, sage or juniper. Now remember, in New Mexico, we have juniper, and that is the main thing that we have. Maybe say cedar. And then we have our hands, okay, to smudge ourselves. Then you go and you see the Plains Indians, and they're the ones that use what? White sage. They use other type of things. In fact, they use feathers to, smudge themselves.
He says you can smoke it too.
Oh.
Smoke sage, it will clean your body.
Well, you know what? They do smoke mountain things, and Grandma's not a smoker. I don't know. I don't advise it, but it's up to you. We're all different, but if that's the way it cleanses you and helps you, thank you very much. But I don't encourage people smoking. I'm sorry, but that's just fact. Okay, last question is by Amy from Arkansas. Hi, Amy. I hope you're there. She says, how old do you think the Dene... Okay, you know what? I forgot to show you something about bad spirits. In the Navajo way, it's called Hojonje. They have, your sand paintings. And when I was a bad girl, remember I told you in my video that when I ate the raisins from the dead pueblos, I did that. This is almost, but I was butt naked because I was only 4 years old. Oops, oh my goodness. Okay, here it is. And here you sit on the sand painting, and then you have a medicine man to heal you or cleanse you in my situation. So I just wanted to show you that. So there's not only prayer, but anyways. So back to Amy. How old do you think that, how old do the Dene believe the world is, or the earth is? Well, and I'm going to tell you, Amy, and I want everybody to know, okay, you're thinking in a Native American, a Navajo woman's perspective. Native Americans and Navajos, they think and explain occurrences or life or creation. They explain it spiritually, okay? Now, the flip of the coin is, now I'm going to say white folks, any other people, for example, they explain things secularly, okay? Do you understand? The Native Americans explain things spiritually. The other white people or whatever, they explain things secularly, okay? So they always say long ago, things that happen. Now, the earth is the way, okay, so there's no dating as far as the Native Americans are, or the Navajo, or my grandfather never said, oh gee, it's 8.5 billion years old. There's no such thing like that, okay? What they do is they will explain that there was a star that burst, that throughout the universe, the soul, it formed, and stars live and they die. And a dying star blasts off its outer layer in an energetic, here, Grandma, where did I put my glasses? Me and my glasses. Don't get old, people. Okay. When a dying star blasts off its outer layer in an energetic explosion, casting materials out into the surrounding space, this event is called a supernova. Now, a Navajo man will explain this to you, that's basically how it happens. Now, what happens to the debris of, like, the supernova that we're talking about? Millions or billions of years later, and I have a picture, we'll say this is the supernova, okay? And it's exploding. And it says, millions or billions of years later, the debris may be incorporated into new stars. The fact that the Earth contains elements that are produced only in supernova is evidence that our solar system, planet, and bodies contain material that was produced long ago by supernovas. Now, right behind this is, guess who? Mother Earth. Okay, there she is. And
Joseph Lone Wolf Schmidt is here, he says. I'm here, Grandma.
oh, hi, Joseph. Hello. Now, what I want you to know, basically, is thus the materials are spewed into space, some spin by the hand of God, gather other pieces of stars that existed long ago, that we find differing parts of this on the Earth, with many different radiometric dating. Like sometimes you'll hear about dinosaur bones, and because these are pieces of planets, of supernovas that were integrated into making the star or the Earth. And then this is something that is called, and the white people measure everything, like I said, with radiometric dating. Navajo people don't even know what the hay ball that is. Now they do, because they're working with NASA. But what they do is they will tell you, they will tell you the story about the stars. But we don't sit around, I'm sorry, Amy, we don't sit around and say it's so many billions old. We don't do that. We're just told about how they're created, and how wonderful and how beautiful Mother Earth is, and how much we need to respect her, because she does live. She does have a soul. She does have a spirit, and she is wonderful, and she is our blessing. So that is going to be it, people. The whole entire part of the, let me make sure I've got all the, It'd be awful if I did not answer all the questions. Amy, Joseph, Cindy, J.O., and I think we covered everything. If anybody, you're typing, can you guys type and say, Grandma, you left me out. I love you all. But I think I got it all. So what we're going to do, and we're going to have, Grandpa is going to sit down really quick, and he's going to do a really quick presentation now, because we have, oh goodness, forgive Grandma. We have a question.
Someone asked, is this your new home?
No, it isn't. This is my ex-son-in-law's house. I love him. His name is Mark. I love him so. Now, we have one more question, and do we have it? Do I have the question? I don't have the question.
Just ask the question.
Okay, there was a question, and I'm so sorry. I'm
How to do native research.
oh, dear. You guys, Grandma's not perfect. I want you to know that. 3, 2, 4, 5. Well, you know, we have one more question, and it was actually from Blaze in Cedar City. Blaze, I love you. Grandma didn't even bring your, I've got like 2 left feet right now. So 2 left hands and 2 left brains. But Blaze asked the question. He said, you know what? I didn't, he took a DNA test. It was 50, he was 53% Native American. And he said, Grandma, I have looked for 30 some odd years trying to find out who my Native American ancestry. And Grandpa is going, he says, how do we do this? And so Grandpa's going to kind of cover some of that right now. So I'm going to trade places with him. Hold on. And quick, sit down. Where are we on time?
27 minutes.
We've got 27 minutes.
That's how long we've gone.
Hi everybody. Now, first of all, to do Native American genealogy, you have to trace your ancestors the way you know. You start with yourself, then you go out and you do your father, your mother, and then their parents and so forth. And you put on their birth, marriage, and death dates and places. Okay? And that's what you start with. But the very first thing you do, now, Grandma helped start what's called Expert Connect, okay? And she helped the company. They had thousands of experts helping people do their genealogy. And then all of a sudden, the company pulled the plug on them overnight and bought another company to do it. And so that left about 5,000 people hanging. They didn't know what to do for a job. So we met with 20 of them in Salt Lake City at the Family History Library. And then we started off, and it was also on Zoom, and we said we're going to say a prayer to start this. Now, if you're Native American, prayer is very important. You can't do without it. So if you're part Native American, you're going to embrace prayer. And then half of them left because they didn't want to pray. Now, there's good and evil in the world, and there's 2 parts of this world that you can see. One you can see, one you can't see. So you can't see your ancestors. Are they dead? No, you just can't see them. So we need to pray and ask for their help because we want to know about them and who they are, what tribe they come from, and their customs. Now, we can do that. They hear our prayers. They can answer. And if you ask Grandma, she can tell you about that. Now, that's very important. Now, Native Americans. Now, if you come from New Mexico, Arizona, or California, and you had ancestors before 1850 that lived there, you are definitely part Native American. when Nate came up from Mexico City in 1596, he brought 1,200 people with him. And there's one woman, one priest, and the rest were all men. So who do you think those people, they didn't go back to Mexico, they stayed here. So who did those people marry? They married Native Americans. Christopher Cortez. Who was his wife? His wife was the granddaughter of the Aztec emperor. Okay? So he has a lot of descendants too. Now, most of the people that come from Mexico are also part Native American. Now they hold censuses every 10 years just like America does. And anyway, because of the Mexican Civil War in 1820, they didn't hold it to 1921. Okay? And there's a very significant census, because on that census, they wrote down the names of the tribes of everybody on the censuses. And unfortunately, what did they do? They pulped the census. So it doesn't exist anymore. But maybe, just maybe, if you go to the counties in Mexico, to the universities in that county, you may be able to find one of those written censuses and go through it and find your ancestors and find out exactly what tribe they come from. But how do you find out, do your native ancestry? Well, there's tribal rolls. The government kept tribal rolls, and that's how you can find most of them. And most of them you can find from 1885 to about 1950. Some of the people, atrocities were committed against the people, especially on the Trail of Tears, and people were afraid, so they hid. Now, we had one client, so we went to Alabama in person, and when in Alabama we discovered that there was a cemetery in Tennessee up in the mountains. And what had happened, some things are very difficult to find. It's like a needle in a haystack. You don't know who in your family knows who the Native Americans is if they were hiding. So anyway, we read a post that was difficult to find, and this woman said in 2011, our great-great-great-grandmother was on the Trail of Tears. And when she was coming through, a man came up and said, I need a wife, you want to marry me? And she said, sure. So what they did, they changed her name, gave her another surname to hide who she was, and they lived up on the mountain. So that's what happened, and then she died up there and was buried up on the mountain. So we drove up to Tennessee, up the mountain, and sure enough, she was buried there. Now that person's since deceased, but I read the post, so we know that that person was a Cherokee Indian. So it's difficult to find sometimes, and sometimes you have to find the needle in the haystack. I can tell someone to go into a courthouse, which I've done before, especially up in Colorado. These two girls hired us. They'd been looking for 20 years. So we met them at the courthouse. They said, oh, we've been there tons of times. There's nothing in there. And Grandma said, let's go get a cup of hot chocolate. Let Grandpa go do his thing. I came out of there in half an hour. I said, here's the records. Here they are. They are Navajo, but you don't know how to find it. And I can't tell you how to find it, because you may have had, one person might have a difficult question, but I've seen that question 1,000 times, so I know how to find the answers. And going to the locations where your ancestors lived is one of the big clues. Now also, the records may not be where they lived, they may be somewhere else. The founding fathers spread the National Archives all over the place, just in case Russia or China nukes DC, the records will still be there. That's how I found my great-grandfather's land records. because they sent the land records to DC as well, a copy of them. So there's different ways to find out the things we need to know. In California, they have judgment rolls. They had it in 1928, 1948, and 1972, where they felt very bad that Native Americans had been treated very badly, so they needed to help them. So they paid out a bunch of money, and people put applications in. And you can find those records. They're in two places. They're in Riverside, California, and up near San Francisco, in the National Archives up there. There's different ways you can find things. There's rolls of Indians that you can check out and see if people are on the Dawes rolls in Oklahoma, whether you're descended from. In the Dawes rolls, if your ancestor was accepted to the Dawes rolls, you can automatically apply to get into the tribes. Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Seminole, and Creek. Okay? And there's no blood quantum required. You just have to be on the Dawes rolls, which were from 1998 to 1906. Now, some people, tribes don't have sovereignty like they think. The Supreme Court of the U.S. has sovereignty over all the tribes and everybody else. So a lot of people appealed to the Supreme Court, 114 of them, and they heard the case, and it took until 1912 before it was finished, and they said, you need to let them on the rolls, okay? So everybody that got in was descended from them could get on the rolls, get into the tribe. So it's not easy. Now, I also did a lecture in Albuquerque about 15 years ago. And lo and behold, someone comes to me about 6 months later and says, I wanted you to do the research, but I paid somebody else that's in the class. They said they knew what they were doing, so I paid them and got nothing. And that's what happens. Now, we do research, and we do charge, and we charge a fee so that it pays for all the expenses, the travel time, the hotels, the time for the research. It covers everything. We don't ask any more. We figure it out. We know exactly where to go, and then we go there and do the research. Now, we don't know what we're going to find until we get there. Every person has a different case. Now, were your parents adopted, okay? Or were you adopted? Now, there is a law, and I am not going to tell you what it is. Now, the reason I'm not going to tell you, it's a federal law. Now, federal law overcomes all state law. And there's something in 25 CFR, which covers Native Americans, that says if you are trying to get tribal enrolled, those adoption records should be made available to you. And I know what that law is, but I'm not going to tell you. Because as soon as I tell someone, they're going to run to the friggin', it'll get to the legislators, and they'll pass a law closing that loophole. So I won't do that. But it is possible. And there's another way I know of getting hold of that information. It can be done. Because you may have seen the problem once, but I've probably seen it 1,000 times. So I know things you don't know. But we do research to help people to do that. We charge a fee because it costs money to travel and do that. But anyway, if you need help, just email us and we'll be able to help you. Thank you.
So we're playing musical chairs. I saw some of your comments, which is cool. Let me read what Blaze said. And I'm sorry, Blaze. Now I'm going to read it. He says, I am native. However, 70 years ago, I was adopted. I have no paper trail as I have a real birth certificate with the County of San Diego sealed stamp on it. I did a 23andMe and found out that I am 53% indigenous. When I was 36 years old, I found out that my parents were not my biological parents, which explained a lot. From a woman who held me when she was 7 years old when I was about to be christened. My question is, where does one start when there's no paperwork? I've tried throughout the past 34 years to no avail. So he thinks he's maybe from the Kumeyaw tribe in San Diego, which is pretty cool. I was looking and reviewing that. So, you know, this presentation is really important because these are questions that you're asking that you wanted answers to. And I'm going to add upon, you know, when you do research or anything, when you are seeking an answer, and I'm going to give you an example. When we go out and do the research for people, you know, I explain to them, I'm Navajo, I'm enrolled in the Navajo Nation, but you're not going to go, people would say, okay, well, let's prove a she is. You'll go to the Window Rock, Arizona, the capital. You're not going to find anything there. You're going to find my name. You might find my family card or whatever it may be, but you're not going to find my family records. You know why? Because my records are in San Francisco, California. My grandfather's records are in Riverside or Long Beach. So you have to know where these repositories are. That's why we are professionals and we know what we're doing. And the thing about prayer, and I saw somebody write and say, depend on God. Yes, you need to think about God when you're doing all things. That's why Grandma always says, be prayerful. And when we are at all odds, we were like, we couldn't find anything for one of our clients. And what happened was we were at the Godfrey Memorial back east. And we were sitting outside and I asked the question, did anybody pray about this? We're not finding anything. And you know what? Nobody did. So we said our prayer and asked for the ancestor of this person to come forth and to hear us. The spirit world is here on this earth, people. It's not somewhere out in the, you know, somewhere else. It is here. They can hear you. Your parents and whoever passed it on, they are here on this earth in a different sphere. And so they can hear us when we're doing things that, like defining ourselves, trying to remember who we are, where we come from, and, you know, things about our heritage. And so what happened after the situation happened, we're not finding anything. And I was asking, and so I said, well, we need to say a prayer. Again, we asked the parents and the ancestors to come forth and to help us. So we proceeded. I went inside the Godfrey Memorial, and I was walking down. There are books and aisles and aisles. Well, I saw something that caught my attention at the bottom of one of the aisle. And I thought to myself, I just walked past it. I walked around and I thought, I wonder where any information is. I come back and I keep coming back and looking down there, and I couldn't understand why. Well, you know what? Here I was nuts. Here we had prayed and asked for the ancestors to help us. And somebody was trying to point me down to that, whatever it was down there and at the end of a bookcase. So after about 4 or 5 times, I decided I walked back to that same place. I bent down, got on my knees, and there were little books, little fat books about this thick. And they were all lined up, and I thought, good grief, there would be nothing in there. And anyways, this one book kept coming at me, and I picked it up, I opened it up, and there was, I think, 7 to 8 generations of this man's ancestors as he was coming across the ocean on a ship, and he wrote down his ancestry. Can you imagine that? And Grandpa, it was so amazing. There are miracles that have, you know, I tell people, miracles have not ceased, people. My dear kids, my children, my grandchildren, it has not ceased. And we need to know this. So there's a lot that goes into the miracles. There are wonderful things that we're learning together. And thank you. And I want to thank you so much. I wanted to sing Merry Christmas. In Navajo, you say Merry Keshmish. That's what you say. And it's just, I hope Santa finds you, the Hostine Santa Claus finds you, and that he gives you what you need, even in this recession.
Someone asked if you believe in ghosts.
Oh, do I believe in ghosts? Yes, I do. They do exist. I told you there's two different things. I would say a good ghost would be someone who, I don't know, a ghost. There are things that come around. There are spirits. I wouldn't say ghosts. I would say spirits that are there. There are good spirits and bad spirits. And yes, they do exist. Some are caught here and some are not. Send them on the way. Say, go to the light. Tell them to go to the light. And, get them out of, you have to know these things. Grandma knows all this because I'm 7 years old and I'm, you learn so much. But now what we're going to do is we are going to do the drawing for the people who sent in the questions. And I was very disappointed. I love all of you, but there is hardly anybody who sent a question in. And we're going to go pick the name, and I will show you the gift. And we're going to waltz over here to the table. And we have the names here. And look how many. Look how sparse. Boy, you guys don't like Grandma very much. I want to cry. I'm going to have my Mark pick one out. And we're going to go with, the first one is this bracelet. Now, I don't know if you're a guy, I don't know if you're going to be able to, but you definitely can't have this one. But here is the bracelet, and the price is here, so don't faint when you see it. But it kind of fits Grandma loosely, okay? So I don't know, you could stretch it out, but don't stretch it out too much because it can pop out some of these turquoise. So whoever gets this. Now, I'm going to have.
Oh, just bring the basket.
Okay.
I'll pick.
Okay, and Mark just picked a name for this, whoever's going to, and see who gets that bracelet. Let us see. Oh my gosh, Joseph! Joseph, you got this! How wonderful! He was also the very first person who brought the picture. Joseph, you won the bracelet. Hooray! Okay, so let's put that here. Put Joseph's names right here. Boy, bingo! It's not a cheap bracelet, I tell you. Okay, now we're going to do another one. Okay.
Which prize did they win? This one.
Oh, hold that. Let's see. Let's say, I know everybody wanted this. They wanted the hairbrush, so we'll go with the hairbrush. So who's going to win the hairbrush? And, Mark, can you read that?
Is it Amy? I'm not sure. Angie?
Oh,
Angie?
it's Amy. Amy, you have a hairbrush. If you're there, Amy. Amy got the hairbrush. So, you guys are doing really well. Now we'll do another one.
What did they win?
Okay, and this one we'll do what you call the stirring stick, okay? And this is very sacred. You can use it to stir with, but you can also put it on top of the doorway of your kitchen or in your kitchen, and it's kind of like an arrow.
A horseshoe.
It's a powerful arrow against, from starvation or going without. It helps to bless your home, and it's made from greasewood. It's wonderful. But anyways, do you want to?
Joe.
Okay. J.O. from, what is it? J.O. from Albany. J.O., you won this. You wanted to keep the witches away. Here it is. You can club them over the head, or you can keep it in your house, and this will keep evil spirits away and poverty and all the bad things. Okay? So wonderful. And the next one, let's see. Not Grandma's bracelet here. let's say, to me, I don't know, I would like to give this to someone here, or we have a towel. It's a beautiful towel, it's huge, and it's a long, big body towel. I'm trying to think which one, which one should, Grandpa, which one should we give?
How many people do you have left?
One. The last person, okay, these are antiques too, but I think I would, let's do the towel. This
Let me
is
see
a
the towel.
beautiful towel, huh?
Let me see it. Where did that come from? Towel.
This is a towel. Let me show you. It's a beautiful towel, and it's not, these are, on the reservation, Pendleton makes these. You might as well just have a blanket. Look at this. Look at how beautiful. This is a towel. It's a bath towel. So the last person, I wonder who that is. Cindy, you get this, and it's actually not the last person. Do you know who the last person is? Blaze. So Blaze, Blaze, I think I'll just do this. Blaze, I'll give you these. We're not going to pick your name, and I think that'd be beautiful. These are antique, and they're yay biche. They're handmade. They're absolutely beautiful. And there's no way you can get these nowadays. It's literally impossible, and for what you would get. So, woohoo! So we have these other things that are here, and nobody got the necklace and the bracelet. And what I need you to do now is you can send me your address, and I will ship that to you. And this is kind of like a little Christmas present from Grandma to you. And send it to DineHGrandma@gmail.com. It's DineHGrandma@gmail.com. Do I need to write it out? But it's DineHGrandma@gmail.com. So I think we are done, and I hope you have had, I really appreciate you joining me, and you can say Hagonat, but that's, why don't we sing Merry Christmas? Is there a Merry Christmas song?
Navajo one?
No, there's, how do you sing Merry Christmas?
Yadi la.
No. Let's sing Jingle Bells. We'll sing it in English. Jingle bells, jingle bells. Where's my thing?
Someone asked, he said, the Bible says you shouldn't talk to dead spirits. So do you talk to dead spirits, or do you talk to God to get answers from the spirits?
You know what? When you pray, when you're prayerful, you can talk. We're not just talking to spirits. We're praying. Okay? There's a difference. You need to know that. Okay, so that was to sing, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. We always say that, right? That's how you end your song. Listen, I love you, Hagona. I love you so much. And thank you. I hope you learned something. And thank you for your comments. We agree to disagree. How's that? And my opinion, these are things that my grandfather, my Shinala Hesti, they raised me till from 18 months old till I was about 10 years old. And so all of these things I learned in a Hogan around holy men, and little did they know I was just inhaling all of this. I used to hide behind my grandfather, and he didn't know I was learning so much. And my grandfather, they used to recite the crucifixion and what happened, and I used to cry. I was just probably like, I don't know, I could have been 3 or 4 years old. and I would be sitting behind. Now remember, I was allowed in there because I hung on to my grandpa's coattails constantly, and then because I was non-minstrel, and I was allowed with these 12 men to sit with them, and I was always there, big ears, and I inhaled everything. And these are things that I learned, and they're reverent, they're blessings. So if you have any questions, please send them. And I appreciate this. I don't even know what to say. I wish I could hug all of you. And please have a Merry Christmas. Stay safe. Please remain faithful and prayerful. There's always a higher power. And I tell people, they say, oh, that's colonialism. You know what? Stop that. You know, when you go across the spirit world, into the spirit world, you will know and you will meet your Savior. And I testify of that. I know that with all my heart. I have people who I know that have come back and explained things like that. And they're Navajo people and Navajo medicine men that say, you know what, I didn't know this, and now I do. So I love you all. Hagona, and Merry Christmas! Hagona, Merry Kashmish! Hagona.